Smilingfaces21 is here with our topic, why suicide, why not, and life. You're all welcome to our platform. We have a guest, that is Dr. Ayodele Ajayi. We are privileged to have him on this platform today. He's a consultant, psychiatrist, and he's been working with NHS for the last 2 decades. I'm very passionate about the mind, body, soul, and spirit of the person he's working with. And he's got a YouTube channel you can always follow. That is the Tripod Care. And I'll leave Dr. Ajayi to further shed light on our topic in terms of why suicide, and just to help us and families, friends, parents, guardians to try and understand the factors that they can look at for when they have their loved ones that's going through this phase. So you're welcome, Dr. Ajayi, and thanks for sharing this platform with us.
Thank you very much for having me on the program. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'll leave the floor to you to just shed more light on our topic, why suicide, and in terms of what parents, guardians, friends, and family can look out for when people are going through this phase, especially with COVID and the lockdown, and people that have gone through pain and trauma. I'll just leave it to shed more light on that.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you for taking on what is a very important topic, which is the topic of suicide. There's no better time to tackle that than now, given all that the world has gone through in the last 18 months or so. There is no one who can say that in one way or the other they've not been touched by the impact of COVID-19 one way or the other. So what is suicide? I think it's important to start from that. We know that suicide is when somebody dies after they've intentionally taken their lives. So they have died as a result of them making that happen. And we know that generally, globally, we know that about 800,000 suicides occur every year. And that, in fact, about 2 million people attempt to take their lives globally every year. And that about every 40 seconds, somebody dies by suicide. So those are quite alarming figures. They are figures that really call for every one of us to stand up and do something about that. And the good thing is that we can. Many times when people hear about suicide, they say, oh, what can I do? They throw up their hands and say, I don't think I can do anything. I'm not a healthcare professional. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychiatric nurse or a psychiatric social worker. I'm not even in the medical profession or in the health sector or the social sector. So I don't think I can do anything. But the reality is that we can do something. Because when we think about it, when we say every 40 seconds globally somebody dies by suicide, that's somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's mother or father, a work colleague, a neighbor, an associate, a church member, somebody in the community that we know. So when we think about that, I think it calls us to, it challenges us to do something about it. And I suppose the first thing is, just like you said, what do we know, that what can we do about it? The first thing is there are very few things that we know that work in terms of suicide prevention. And one of them is community support. We know that social support in places where people are well supported and when people are intentional about looking out for each other, that's one of the most strategic things you can do in terms of preventing suicide. But of course, if you are going to then offer somebody support, the first thing to know is, how do you know whether somebody is at risk of suicide? and that's
That's
something
true.
very
That's
key.
very important. Yeah.
So we know, for instance, that men are more male more than the female gender. We know that 75% of suicides, completed suicide, take place. They are done by they're carried out by men. So we know that men are more at risk. We know that there are certain age groups. When we look at age groups, we know that middle-aged men are particularly at risk. We also know that middle-aged women are particularly at risk. But what we are also finding out these days is that younger men, the millennials, younger men particularly are also at risk now. And that's quite a growing concern because we now know that suicide is the second largest killer of men under the age of 35 years, which is also quite worrying because these are people who are just reaching the prime of their lives and they're about to blossom, they're about to really impact community and society, and they die by suicide. So, what are the warning signs? What the warning signs, apart from knowing the people who are at risk, we also know that people who are on the fringes of society, we know that, for instance, middle-aged men of Afro-Caribbean origin, of BAMA origin, also are at high risk. We know that so we know that. So those are the type of things to look out for. We know that people who are experiencing life stressors, particularly, we know that mental illness is a key factor here, and that in fact there was a European study that showed that out of they studied a group of people that had died by suicide, and they found out that 50%, that's one out of every two of them, had actually had some sort of depressive illness or the other. So that gives us, that's a lot of things that we can look out for. So what are the warning signs? Warning signs will include people who are undergoing life events, people who basically life has dealt a very rough hand, or life has dealt a tough hand. It could be because of a relationship breakdown, it could be because of a job loss, it could be because of bereavement, or even sometimes it's positive things in life that could actually cause the stressor. Somebody has taken on a new job, they now have more responsibility, they're feeling more stressed because the responsibility on their shoulder has increased. They're expected to deliver more at work, they're expected to work longer hours to be able to meet their targets. And that could actually be a challenge. Sometimes as well is the challenges of social life, in terms of maybe somebody has just undergone a divorce, or they've just undergone a separation, or they've just become homeless, or they've just gone through one life change or the other, or they've just lost their spouse. All of those things are actually life events, and when they happen, those are indicators that this person may be a candidate who is more at risk of suicide, and is something to look out for. Also, when we now look at those group of people who have had those life events, all the people that I've spoken about now, all the different risk factors that I've mentioned, the other thing to then begin to see in order to narrow down those the group, is to look at changes in behavior. People who you might begin to notice that there's social withdrawal. So if you see that somebody is middle-aged, they're male, or they're young adult male, black ethnic minority, they've undergone any of these life changes, or they belong to any of these, they fall under the category of any of these risk factors, and they have they then begin to be socially withdrawn. They suffer from mood swings, or they sleep excessively, or sleep very little, or they become reckless in their use of maybe recreational drugs, or they become reckless in using recreational drugs, or they begin to drink excessively. All of these will be even pointers to make you even more suspicious that could this person be undergoing depression, and what's going on for them. I have said so much already, and I'm just wondering whether you needed to interrupt me, or you wanted me to continue.
I'll just glad to continue to listen to you, because you've said a lot actually in terms of the statistics, the warning signs, and the behavior, which is which is very important, and that is part of what people are required to know in terms of how they can help their loved ones, their neighbor, and just and even our children as well. So thank you for this. But one question I would like to ask before we actually round up is, you talked about this actually being more prevalent within young men of middle age of 35 or thereabouts. So I'm just wondering why that age. Is it because of the stress of work, or why?
I think there are a lot of things. I think to start with, we know, yeah, suicide is a very difficult thing to really strip or to boil down to the bones. But we do know, for instance, that men are less likely to talk about their problems. Men are less
Yeah,
likely to talk about our problems than women do.
that's
Men
true.
would we like to be macho,
Oh,
and
yeah,
research just shows
they keep
that that
silent.
yes. And research does show that that stiff upper lip alpha male figure, alpha male prototype does not actually augur well for mental well-being.
Mm.
That not having a confidence in your life, not knowing somebody that you can really confide in and share your problems with, is not a very good thing for mental well-being. We also do know that middle age is quite it's a period of transition. One, it's a period when people begin to reflect on their lives. It's almost like an off time when you are forced to reflect. You are forced to think about maybe the past, and also forced to think about the future. Retirement, obviously, is not so far away.
Wait,
And sometimes people undergo transitions, a lot of transitions during middle age as well. Some people are forced to change their careers. Sometimes as well, people experience losses. All sorts of losses are associated with middle age. For instance, parental loss, also job losses, or even sometimes is also transitioning. So there's quite a lot of things that happen in middle age. And those are part of the things that could
yeah,
be responsible. And of course, the fact that the communities, the stress,
the
unmitigated
stress.
stress,
Yes,
yeah, and not
yes.
knowing how to manage that.
Yes, yes, that's a key point, because most of the time, our men in general, generally they feel, because of the macho-ness, they don't want to really talk about what they're going through, and it does happen to women as well at times.
Yeah.
But I would like to round up and just say thank you. We're very grateful for having you, for sharing this platform with us. You've given us a wealth of knowledge, and how parents, loved ones, family members, neighbors can actually look out for their loved ones, and the importance of actually looking out for each other and one another as well, helps um, help us as a community, as a family, to continue to live healthily, and to help someone that is thinking of suicide or wants to commit suicide, to actually support them through that stage. So hopefully, I truly hope that this has helped one person or the other, um, that is going through any type of stress, to try and speak to someone or get support in one way or the other. And these days, there are different types of support mechanisms as well. Maybe the family, your friends, your trusted friends, and even in UK, we have the Samaritans as well, that you can just chat with over the phone. And like we always say on this platform, keep smiling, keep laughing, and know that no matter what, ending your life is not the last result. There is always a way out of everything in life, a good way, I must say. So, to end this, to bring this podcast to an end, I would like to say a big thank you again to Dr. Ajayi for shedding so much light on why people commit suicide, the different reasons, the and behavior. It's a large scope. We can't deal with everything on this platform, but what we've discussed, I hope it will help one or as many people as possible. And until we meet again in 3 weeks' time, I say thank you again to you. And please make sure you follow Dr. Ajayi on his YouTube channel, that's a Tripart Care, because he does teachings there as well in regards to mental health. So follow him and take care of yourself, take good care of your mind, body, and soul. Dr. Ajayi, do you want to say bye?
Thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Okay then, bye. Yeah.